Let's
All
get on.
right, everybody, this is Gail Nogle, famous world traveling photographer.
Woohoo!
And we are going to really enjoy this one today. So I'm going to mute everyone and then unmute Gail, and let me unmute you. I think you're going to have to unmute yourself.
Done.
There you go. Awesome. All right. It's all yours, Gail.
Well, thanks, Nancy, for the pre-warm-up. Very good. Hey, I don't know who's here, so hi, everybody. It's Jonathan Bentz called me, and he said, oh, just do a host. It can be anything you want. You can just do it, and, it doesn't have to be, whatever he said. I don't know. Well, it's what it is, guys. And I'm here to inspire you and kind of show you what I've done in 46 years, the parts of things that I've done, and hopefully maybe you can learn something and you can learn to do some of the things that have worked for me. I'm not a digital artist. I do not retouch anything. So I learned back in 1973 that you had to get it in the camera. You either get it in the camera or you don't have it there. So that's 46 years of learning to get it in the camera. So that's another reason. That's another excuse why I didn't do Photoshop. It's just I have taken lessons in Photoshop, but it doesn't. I don't have a feeling for the project. Let's say that. Anyway, let's get started here. Today, everybody and his dog is a photographer. And about 25 years ago, I took this photograph. Gave the dog a camera. What the heck? Even the mannequin thinks that she can take pictures. You've got to find something somehow that is your niche, and you go for it, and you just do the best you can and have fun with it. And it's a lot of work. I will say it's a lot of work, a lot of effort, but it's a great, great passion. I started when I was about, I started when I was 8. I look a little old. That's me over here. And that's my aunt and my 2 sisters. I started taking pictures every day. When I went outside, I'd take pictures and have them processed and developed. And it grew into a love since I was 8 years old. Then I went to RIT back in 1969, and that's me. Isn't it right how people change? We had to work 4x5 cameras, of course, and learn everything. The ratio was 3 to 1. There were 300 guys in my class and 3 women, and one of those other women was Nancy Bailey. So I'm sure a lot of you people know who she is. And so we've been friends ever since. Every time we go to the convention, we share a room, we keep in touch. We've traveled together, but that's where it started. She lived in Indianapolis, so every year in May, we would have a caravan of guys and us going to stay at her house and go to the race, the 500. When I graduated, I applied to one place. Oh, by the way, at RIT, I was accepted there with a scholarship. Tuition, full tuition, which was $18.50 at the time. I had to submit my work, and I was picked out of those 300 guys. They didn't like it. They said, oh, you're Gail Orchard. They were not happy that they didn't win the scholarship. Anyway, it was the hardest thing I ever did, because I printed it over 6, 7, 8 times just to get the images right. So I applied to Giddings once I graduated from RIT, and I only applied to one place, and I lived in Troy, New York, and I was looking for a job in Houston, Texas with Giddings. So they called me in, and they flew me in, and they interviewed me, and they said, oh, here's what we're going to pay you. And that wasn't even in my calculations what they were going to pay me. And a man comes in and he says, oh my, what a pretty girl. The other vice president said, don't tell her that when we're asking her to come to work for peanuts. Well, I drove down in my 68 Chevy and I was getting peanuts. But that's okay. It paid off, because what I did, I worked there 14 years, and all I did was photograph 14 years. Walk in, and when I would walk in, guess what the women would say to me? Where's the man? Giddings, Neiman Marcus, 1973, 74, 75. This is the people that I worked with. What was really great about working for Giddings was because I worked with other photographers. This is Mr. Giddings himself. So there were three, there were seven of us that we all helped each other. We worked together. We taught each other. We practiced. We played. And if there was children sitting coming in the front door, the guys would run out the back door, or they would say, "Gail, we'll help you do it. We'll help you. We'll help you." Because children is my first love and forte. I had to learn how to photograph men, brides, teens, groups. And this was all with 4x5 view camera, by the way, children. And children were my first love and forte, and still is. That I can almost photograph children blindfolded. I'm very much in tune with them, and it comes so naturally to me. So here's a few children's. That's my grandson, by the way. These guys were whispering about me. So either don't do what she says or whatever he was telling him. This photograph, you know, we were talking with Tim Myers about the other day in Dallas here a couple of days ago. Rembrandt lighting. I took this photograph when I was probably 19 years old. Had no idea what I was doing. I was just doing it. And Rembrandt lighting, didn't know it. More of the children's. And then I went to a convention. It must have been at the in Washington, D.C. when Jay Stock had his exhibit at the Capitol. And I met him and everything. And he said, you need to find somebody that you want to work with and study with and have as a mentor. And so I did. I took him up on that. I decided he was the one I was going to learn. I'd never seen work like he had done before. I studied with him for 25 years. Here's a good quote for him. The key is to train yourself, not just to look, but to see constantly. He saw everything. He looked, he was interested in everything. I'm interested in everything. There's nothing that I don't want to do or see or taste. And here's Jay here. He passed away last year. He never got into digital. So I figured, well, heck, if Jay doesn't have to do digital, why do I? Well, little did I know, in 2009, someone gave me a digital camera and said, if you don't start shooting digital, they're not even going to know you ever lived. And they were right. Hardest thing I ever did was try to learn digital camera. Anyway, there's Jay again. I know that you all go to museums. You're all artists, so you know about going to museums. And what I studied for children especially was hats. I had over a collection. When I closed my studio 2 years ago, I had over 300 hats. And I would use them in the sittings. I would put them on adults. I put them on kids. I put them on everybody. I'd say, everybody pick a hat. Sometimes they'd say, no, I don't want to pick a hat. I said, well, pick a hat. You know, someone asked me to photograph 10 groups of 6 women because they were going to put it in their brochure for their auction. And the first group that came in, 6, I said, hey, just let's do one for fun. I did 6 across, and I said, hey, just let's do a fun picture with hats on. They go, oh, we're not going to do that. Well, the next 9 groups did put the hats on, and they used the pictures with the hats on in the auction program. And the first group was mad that they didn't have a picture to put in there for them. But you got to play. I believe in play. Play is big for me. Here's flowers. Whenever I have a sitting, I always suggested that the clients bring in fresh flowers. It's like if you have fresh flowers at home, you've done nothing at home except brighten your home with flowers. And it also gives the hands something to do. And pets. I always wanted people to bring in their pets. I found out over the years that I would just take the pet by itself, and the people paid more for the pet pictures than they did for the kids' pictures. They bought more. Not all the time, I'm teasing, but actually it was a good seller. And it makes, again, a good subject with the pets, for the people to have and hold and feel comfortable with. Okay, here you go. Here's a hat, here's flowers, and here's a book down here. So I'm big on props. I've always been big on props. This is my daughter. When she was in ballet, she got this big bouquet. I said, we got to go and take a picture with this. This is amazing. Musical instruments. Here's another one that has the flowers, the pet, and the hat in it. And then I threw in all the lights too. I decided to throw the sheet music on the floor and do a fun one with the lights in it. I was always ready to play. And the reason I love children so much is that they are ready to play. you know, you get the shy ones, you get the ones that, you know, there's a process when they come in. As anybody knows that photographs children, I always ignored them, but I was watching them the whole time. I never did consultations ahead of time. I've had mothers say, hey, can I bring my son in to meet you? I go, well, you can. But I said, they're not going to be the same that day, and neither am I. So we'll do what you feel like, but I don't think it's really necessary. I can count on two hands in 46 years how many kids that I could not photograph because they were screaming, crying. And most of the time it was because they were afraid. They'd been photographed before, or something had happened, or who knows, they were afraid. As you know, they're afraid. What happened, one family, I said, you know what, we're not going to do this. She's terrified of me. She's terrified of being in here. 2 weeks later, when they came back, she said, yeah, she goes to the doctor, and the doctor takes her feet and presses them out and takes a picture. There was no way I was going to get anything. So I'm very in tune with what's going on with kids. I understand them. So Thomas Leclerc. Going to museums, I saw this by Thomas Leclerc in one of the exhibits. I think it was in DC. And I said, I'm going to make a photograph just like this. I'm going to do something. Well, let me back up. You can never copy anybody's work. I don't care how hard you tried or what you do or anything. I'll speak for myself. I can't copy it. I'm not trying to. It doesn't even occur to me. You can never do it as well as they do. But anyway, I tried. This is my rendition. I dragged all the paintings and the props and the camera, borrowed that from somebody, got a model in there, not a real model, just a friend, and the kids and the dog and all that stuff. So there we got props. And I tried to put that umbrella back there. That black umbrella is going to be in a lot of my pictures. You'll see as we go along, sort of that and a mousetrap I always like to put in the pictures. Anyway, this is another one. I like this one better, but the man, of course, the photographer's not in there. It has kind of an eerie look to it, but I like it. That's the only time I ever tried to copy a painting of some sort. Okay, George O'Keeffe, as you know, you all love George O'Keeffe too. There was a period that I went through and I photographed thousands of pictures of flowers. I've got millions still to this day. I'm trying to weed out because I took so many. But I took them and I would go to people. There'd be so many flowers that I wanted to photograph. I would go to people's houses and I would knock on the door and I'd say, hello, I'm your neighbor. You've got a flower garden. Do you mind if I take pictures of the flower garden? That's my van out there. And if you see the van out there, I won't bother you, but it'll be a day when the lighting is good. So I'll come back and shoot, and I'll come back in about 2 or 3 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks, and I will give you pictures. And I kept my word. I think that's real important. One thing I've done a lot is given a lot of pictures away. If I ask someone to sit for me, not just, I'm talking about around the world, wherever it is, I try to give back something because I think we're taking a lot most of the time. So I've sent out thousands. All it takes is time and money. So like I said, I would come back a couple weeks later and I would put them on cards. They were beautiful. I would put them in a box and they would cry because I kept my word. And by then, 2 or 3, 4 weeks later, the flowers are gone. So they get to enjoy them again. This was taken up in Maine. It didn't matter where I traveled. I traveled a lot. Like I said, with Jay, I went to his classes 2 and 3 times a year for 25 years. This is in Maine. You guys were talking about Maine earlier. I love Maine so much. My father was from Maine, so we used to go up to Maine. And then when I was teaching and taking classes, I would go with Jay. I would go up to Maine and met all kinds of people. It was so wonderful. I would eat a lot of lobster and crab meat, by the way. This is one of my favorite shots. You know, the vibration of the blues and the greens, it just sends me. I just think it's amazing. And this is a soft focus that I use. None of this is done after I took it. Degas. Okay, so I wanted to do ballet like Degas. And I got the books out, studying the books and everything. I wrote to 14 different schools. And I said, I'd like to photograph in the style of Degas, and I will give every student that's there a 5x7, the person that coordinates the students in the ballet classes, 5x7, and the school would get a 20/24, or I guess the coordinator got 11x14. Anyway, I would give pictures back like that and other pictures of them individually. Art is not what you see, but what you make others see. Love that. So this was in Old Red Courthouse. and I had access to this huge building that they were renovating. And this was exciting because to have the madame over there and the music teacher and get all the ballerinas. The hard part about doing big classes like this is that you've got to pull the girls in the back to come forward. You got to remember to rotate them so that they also are featured. So I brought all, this is another old building. Oh, I photographed in a lot of old buildings. Every time I found an old building, they would tear it down. So I would get out there and see if I can get into as many buildings as I could. Anyway, I love this. This was up in Denton, Texas. By the way, today it's 57 degrees down here in Dallas. It's been hundreds. We're having a cold spell right now. Anyway, again, see, I brought this girl forward and switched them around and did whatever I could. I photographed in the Old Red Courthouse. That's what this is. Every day for 4 weeks. I was doing, again, a lot of pro bono work. I did pro bono work for the Crystal Charity Ball. I guess you call it a foundation. And they said, Gail, you've got to go into the Old Red Courthouse and you've got to shoot 25 different shoots, different pictures, photographs, whatever, with props because there's nothing in there. You've got to build the sets. And I go, what the heck am I going to do? And I wanted to do a good job. So I always get nervous thinking, oh, what am I going to do? And so they gave me another one. They gave me another one, which was Child Protective Services. Do not show their faces. I said, well, I'm going to take pictures of their feet. I was a little bit uneasy about doing this stuff. But anyway, I went to the Old Red Courthouse and I sat down with the director and we talked. And the whole time we're talking, I'm going, there's nothing here. What am I going to photograph? Well, long story short, he said, let us go upstairs and I'll show you the floors. We went up the first floor, second floor, third floor. By the time I got off the elevator, I said, how do you expect me to sleep tonight? Because this was one of the most exciting things I have ever done in my life, to be able to use the courthouse as a backdrop for 40 different, they wanted 25 pictures. I ended up doing 40. All it takes is a lot of effort and different people that I asked to help me. Again, pro bono work, it really paid off. This is high grain film, 3200 Dectol, 3:1, 3 to something. I can't remember exactly right now. And so I get the high grain. Again, it's all done in camera. This is my husband. He is such a good volunteer. He does not play the violin. He plays clarinet. But I figured with the ballet, the clarinet just wasn't going to cut it. So I went to the pawn shop and bought a violin, and here he is. You'll probably see him again with the violin somewhere. Okay, so I love Rockwell. Well, I've done a lot of studying about his stuff and so on. And this was also the courthouse, the Old Red Courthouse. I had to get I don't call them models. They were friends. They were clients. The little boy was the client. The man, actually, we used to go photographing. He's not a photographer, but he's a musician. And we would go see what musical people we could find to photograph. And that's one of my favorite photographs up there. Now, for the Boy Scouts, I had gone to Camp Wisdom many times. They asked me, Gail, will you take pictures of the uniforms that they have here? Well, this was a whole museum with uniforms. You can see the sleeping bag is a Scout sleeping bag. They had books. They had the calendar back there is Boy Scout. Even the camera that the boys are holding onto are Boy Scouts. Over in the top right, you can see it's a poster, Camping Boy Scouts. Anyway, since I had done all that work, I had no problem asking these guys, hey, can you help me out? And they said, sure. So that I said, I need uniforms. I need to put boys in uniforms. I need to build a set. I need to make it look realistic. I would not have been able to get these uniforms anywhere else had I not done the pro bono work before, had I not helped people before. So I will just say that there's no money in it. I did it because I wanted to. I was happy to do it. And I wasn't looking for anything in return, but this is a big payoff here to have these uniforms and all the props. Where would I get these kind of props? There's the black umbrella on the left again, and the mousetrap's down there somewhere. I'm not quite sure. This is my mother-in-law, my poor mother-in-law. She's like my husband. I go, Grandma, we got to go take a picture of you. This was the first one I did in the Old Red Courthouse because I said, we got to get you set up. Her husband is on the right. My daughter, her granddaughter's on top of the picture up there, and the old clock's part of the family. And I just had all these props, and I just put them in there. This was a client of mine, and I drove probably 50 miles to get that old Singer sewing machine. And I had told you I had 300 hats, so that helped. I had them all there. Flowers. I told the mother, on every sitting I've ever done, especially with children, again, I wanted fresh flowers. I wanted pets. I wanted musical instruments. And I had hats, but if they had hats or anything that they wanted in the photograph, this mother bought, it was a huge bouquet. I'm talking huge. I didn't want a huge bouquet for her to hold here. I just wanted a few flowers. So I took the flowers and I threw them away kind of somewhere, and I pulled out the 2 flowers. Well, she proceeded to pick all those flowers up. I didn't really throw them, and I know her. But the point is, she gathered them up again to get this great giant bouquet, which is not what I wanted.
Gail, can we stop for a couple questions?
Sure.
One question is what did you do when you couldn't photograph the children's faces? Did you have a solution for that?
Yes, I had to photograph them from behind.
Okay.
Mostly, basically, that's what I did. It was Jonathan's place here in Dallas, and I can't tell you exactly what that was, back in 2005, 2006. I just did it so that you couldn't see their faces. It didn't, they were looking out a window, for instance, do a silhouette. I just, anything I could think of, and I had to have 25 of them. It was not easy. Okay. Next.
The other question is where you got the period outfits, those beautiful long dresses the girls were wearing earlier.
I have a collection of period costumes. When I closed my studio, I had a mini estate sale. That's like having a home. And I'm still paying the price trying to clear things out, because I said, oh no, I can't get rid of that. I might need it. Well, I don't have room for everything that I loved. I've got a storage unit off with negatives, mostly off site. I've got someone else's house that I got stuff in, and then I got stuff here at our house. And I would just look for them. I'd go to Goodwill. I've been going to Goodwill for 40 years probably. Oh, maybe not that. I would only been shooting. Yeah, 40 years. And I look, of course, back in the day in the Goodwill, they didn't know what they had. So you could really get good stuff for practically nothing. So I still, in estate sales. So that's kind of how I got the period. I don't know which costumes particularly you're talking about, but.
The ones where you were kind of sergeant look, the very long dresses that look like 1800s or so.
Oh, those were made, were they pink?
Yes.
They were made for me at going to a convention. This lady had that costume there, and I said, I got to have 2 of these. I need a smaller size and a larger size. I paid $400 or $500 each for those, so they were expensive. I don't have them now. I had to let them go. One thing that was sad to me, when I wanted to get children to get them on, they didn't like the sleeve that hung down, and it wasn't really their thing in later years. So I sold those in the estate sale. But yeah, you can find somebody that can make stuff for you if you keep looking. It's different now, but at the conventions, I don't know. I don't see them. They do make costumes. You can find stuff like that. Not maybe like that one, but anyway.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not yet.
Okay, this is the Michael Johnson, the runner. That's his son and his father. I wanted to get something in here of dark skin in the dark area and so on and so forth. So that is, they're doing, what do you call that?
Morse code?
Morse code, thank you. They're doing Morse code, and these boxes were Morse code, and they're the thing. I didn't know they were coming. He was coming in his suit and so on, but I love this picture. It's just kind of unusual. It's him with his grandfather, and good looking man. Okay, this one, I think I'm going to tell you about this in a minute, but I can tell you now and skip it later. This is flowers from Dr. Delphinium. Every time, as I said, I wanted flowers from anybody that came to me. I wanted fresh flowers. Gave the hands something to do. It made our pictures come alive, photographs come alive, and so on and so forth. So I'm driving by Dr. Delphinium, and every time I've gotten flowers from Dr. Delphinium, they were the best. So I'm driving by the shop, and I turn left on a dime, and I walk in, and I said, you don't know me from a bar of soap. but I know who you are because you're the best. When anybody brings flowers to be photographed by me, yours are the best. And I said, I'd like to have that bouquet there. And she goes, that's $300. I said, no, you don't understand. I don't want to pay for it. And I need that vase over there. Now that's reckless abandon. I don't do that a whole often. I wish I did it more. But so I had my pictures with me and I said, here's what I'm doing. And she said, just a minute. So she took the pictures. She walked back. She goes, when and where do you want it delivered? I said, Sunday at 2:00. Well, the point of this is, and I haven't gotten to that point yet, it's about asking. It's about just asking. And they said, that'll be just fine. So they brought the flowers to me. And this is, Degas has a similar shot of something of this. There's the umbrella again. So that was what I did with that. Velasquez, I like to study what he did. Again, fresh flowers. You see in all the fan, all these props. I watched I Love Lucy like a lot of you did, I'm sure, growing up, and I just thought her props and all the things that she had were just wonderful, and that made the story come alive for me. So some people would come in and go, "We don't want any props in the pictures. We just want our child." I go, "Okay." And then I'd sneak one or two props when they're not in the room with me. But I would do it for me. But I would listen to them. They didn't want them. Is that the dress you're talking about?
Yes, yeah, that's one of them. Nancy's asking if she can have a box of chocolates.
Tell her, just come down and get it. I'll get the chocolates. Tell her to come on down here and she's got them. And I'll split them with you, Nance. So there's the dresses again. I mean, they're beautiful dresses. They were just so beautiful. Again, the fan with Velasquez and all that. Okay, Mary Cassatt, another one of my favorite artists. So I took this photograph. Well, what happened? The grandmother came in and said to me, I want you to photograph both my grandchildren. One's brand new, 6 days old, whatever, and the other one is 2 or 3 or 6 months old. And I said, okay. She gave me the names and I called them up. This mother who's sitting in this photograph, called her up and I said, I'd like to take a photograph of your baby because your mother-in-law wants it. And she goes, well, I want to wait till he's 6 months old. And I said, well, tell you what, I don't want to wait. I didn't say it like that. But I did want to. I said, listen, this is a newborn baby. I want to experiment. That's one thing I was always good at. I was always good at experimenting. And I said, you bring the baby in now and I will experiment. Here's this high grain film. It's not as high grain as the other, but it's still high grain film and it's window light, soft focus lens. I said, I just want to try something. And I will give you pictures from this sitting. And then when you're ready to have your mother-in-law sitting done that was given to you, you can come again. So this is what happened by doing that. This is another one, mother and baby. All that gauze and stuff that you see around there is just that. It's just gauze. It is not a dress. Background is just gauze. It's just, and I happened to shape it however it looked. And actually, when I was photographing, the first time this ever happened to me, when I was photographing her, I said, I need to get your signature now because this photograph is just incredible. That's the only time that ever happened to me. And it did. It won a few awards here and there. Love the way the hands are on the baby, and it's just so beautiful. There's a hat over in the left-hand bottom kind of corner there. So I would add things. I always had the flower pot on the right, and these were hard to do because the baby would wet. And of course, we're in gauze. We're naked and we're in gauze, and the gauze would get wet, and I have to get another gauze. It usually took 2 or 3 hours to do this, unless the baby was just cooperative. Then it didn't take so long. Okay, Impressionism. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I photographed this. I was riding my bicycle and I photographed this. I was out riding my bus. I was riding my bicycle. I'll start again here. And I saw the lighting was so beautiful. I said, I have got to get a ladder. I've got to get my camera. I've got to get the bicycles in the car. I don't need that. And I've got to get tripod. And I had the 645 and I had the 35 millimeter. And I dragged it all down to this field where I love to photograph. I did not realize there's not one yellow flower here. It's just the blues and the greens, which is really what, again, I love the vibration of blue and green. And I came and I took the photograph with this. This is Deb Kreinberg. I think maybe a lot of you may know her as well. This is down in Myrtle Beach. When I started with Jay, he had 5-year classes. In other words, you started and you committed to 5 years. And he would teach wherever the host was for a week. And then the rest of the year, 11, 12, or 10 months of the year, the students, myself included, would pick a place that we could invite people to come and photograph. So we got to go different places, but not the usual portrait stuff that you're used to doing. It had to be in the something that he has taught us, which he used the soft focus lens quite a bit as well. So that's in Myrtle Beach. This is in Ireland. I just went there to Ireland, and again, high grain film. And this is a good friend of mine. I grew up with her, and so there we are in Ireland by the beach. Again, my husband. Okay, so he's got that violin again, no clarinets. I don't think I have any pictures of him in the clarinet. Just kidding, I do. But I brought fresh flowers myself. I carried them up there. This is in Denton, above Evers Hardware Store. It was a huge light. And so I was photographing the ballerinas, and he was sitting there reading the score. And I said, don't move. Now, he didn't move. He knows better than to move. So he didn't move, and I took this photograph. It's part of my top of the work that I have, my photography. And those background that you see there, those are ballerina costumes. I brought those. I brought extra ballerina costumes. I brought the flowers. I brought my husband. I brought the violin, the sheet music. You can always add. To me, it would not be the same portrait if he was standing there looking at me. It just wouldn't have any impact. I don't do painting. This is one of the few that they requested it be painted, so I had someone do this. Again, more impressionistic. I am always doing things I can't do. That's how you get to do them. Picasso, one of my favorite quotes. So this book is down here. These are short Just Ask stories. This book, if you haven't got it, it's a good one. I think sometimes we're afraid to ask for stuff. Well, I'm not too afraid of that anymore. I don't know if I ever was, but I read the book and really got good at asking. And that is why Nancy said, hey, I want some chocolates. That's because she's asking for those chocolates for this book. So anyway, it's hard to find sort of lately. You can go on Amazon and find it. It's the guy's from England, so you can find it. But it's good to find out. If you're afraid to ask, that will help you a lot. And here's the thing. It's short, 2 or 3 pages each one. Like if you didn't get the answer you wanted, call somebody else. Don't just stop there. There was a restaurant we were going to, my daughter and family, and we wanted to be there at 5 o'clock. We called up. They said, there's no reservation for 5 o'clock. 9 o'clock. I said, well, we can't do 9 o'clock. We have the kids. We can't do that. So we hang up. She calls, gets the same answer. I wait a little while. I call, and sure enough, there is.
Cardio burns fat, right?
There is.
No. Cardio actually burns.
Turn that thing off, please. There is somebody else, and they said, yes, we have one at 5 o'clock. Same thing with an airline ticket, which Nancy also knows we did. She said she called to get an airline ticket somewhere. And in this book, it tells you if you don't get the answer, you're like, try again. She called, then I said, look, give me the thing. I'm going to find it. So we get the phone number, and I call the airline. And sure enough, they said, yes, we have something here. See, there's a couple of reasons for that. If the person on the other end of the line doesn't know, or if they don't care if they find you a flight, or if whatever, it doesn't matter. Just just don't give up. Okay, when I have a camera in my hand, I have no fear. Okay, Harley Davidson's 100th anniversary party. I'm not a biker, but I love to ride bikes. Somebody else's. This is for Ed Petty, by the way. I don't think he's even on, but maybe he is. He's a biker. So we were there, and there were 2 or 3 of us, other photographers, that joined me in Milwaukee. There were 300,000 bikes. 10,000 of them were in the parade. So there's Willie G, or grandson of it's either Harley or Davidson's grandson. They're at the start of the parade. And where we were sitting was not too far from here. I had a long lens here, but we were on the curb, and we were just sitting there. So the parade started. So hang on, I'm going to go back here. So after about 1,000 bikes go by, I say to them, not Nancy, my friend Sue and Gaylita, you all know Gaylita. And I said, hey, I see only one person on a lot of these bikes, and I've smelled the same exhaust. I've taken the same pictures. Who wants to go ride a bike? I get on a bike. They go, oh, you can't do that. I go, oh, every man for himself. I'll see you later. So I take off. Now there's police everywhere. And I take off and I go to the back, and Gailey is 10 paces behind me. So she figures if I get told to turn around, she could beat a path back quicker than I do. So she was safe going back there. Anyway, long story short, it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. Oh, we got to get moving on the time here. Not too bad. Anyway, so I got a ride. Our first guy I saw as I went in. Now, there's a lot of noise going on with all these bikes taking off. And I say, hey, I'm a photographer. Do you mind if I ride in the back of your bike with you? And he goes, oh, I don't know. My wife's back there. And I go, too slow. Next. Now, you got to imagine there's a lot of noise going on. There's a lot of action back there amongst all those other 9,000 bikes. Anyway, the next guy I ask, and I say, hey, do you mind if I ride on your bike? And I'm a photographer. I got 2 cameras here. And he goes, no, darling, that's what it's all about. Hop on. Most fun thing I ever did. And see, I'm sitting on the back of the bike. More fun to be riding the parade than it was standing on the sidelines. Anyway, all you got to do is just ask. Okay, Patero, this young man from Uganda was a conehead. I mean, literally had a conehead shaped. He could not go to school because all the kids laughed at him. He had to go to the field and he would talk to his cows because they wouldn't let him go to school. He was a disruption. Came here, Dr. Salyer, World Cranial Facial Center. He took the conehead part down. The boy, his eyes were popping and turned to the side and so on and so forth. So I had already done work, pro bono work for him of the Egyptian conjoined twins that were separated by him. I photographed them pro bono. I photographed another set of girl twins that he was going to do the surgery, but it wouldn't work out, so they didn't do it. Anyway, Patero, he said, Gail, will you take some, or his administrator said, will you take some pictures of Patero? I said, sure. I don't have any of the before with the conehead, but I did take pictures of him. And then he was going to go back to Uganda and take this boy back to his village. And I said to the administrator, after I took the picture that day of him, ask Dr. Salyer if I can come and I photograph the whole event. Well, long story short, I did go. And this is where his village was. And you can see the sheets in the background. And they sat there for probably 3 or 4 hours. Nobody moved. They just sat there. And they were so thrilled that the boy, looked normal, let's say. He still couldn't see out of his left eye because there was too much pressure on it. Anyway, this is one of the villages there. I'm not sure why that's in there. And there's Patero again. How do you like that? I missed it. Here's Dr. Salyer, and you can see he's hugging. And they gave him chickens and huge banana, what do you call those banana things? Bananas. A huge thing of bananas. I don't know. Anyway, here was somebody duplicated these. Looks like myself, or I'm going the wrong way. Anyway, it was an exciting trip. I mean, I was glad I got to go. And BBC was there filming, and they were filming. And while we were having the first meeting, they say to Dr. Salyer, "What's she doing here?" Meaning me. Don't even know my name. What's she doing here? And he said, she's my private photographer. That ended that conversation. I told them I will never get in their way. I'm not here to do anything but stills and to document Dr. Salyer being in bringing this young boy back. Beauty salon. Okay, I'm with Carol Andrews, and we're going to the Goodwill from Gaylita's house. And I didn't bring my camera. I always bring my camera everywhere I go. Well, I didn't bring my camera. And we passed by Stephanie's salon, which is what this is, on the way to the Goodwill. And I said, whoa, what's going on in there? That place is packed. The shades are drawn, which you can see in the back. And it didn't look real inviting, but, it's a salon. So we went to the Goodwill, and I said, I want to stop there on the way back. On the way back, Carol's driving. She drives right by it. I said, Carol, remember, I want to go in there. And so she turns around. Linda's back there in the back seat. We parked the car, and I said, okay, let's go. And so Carol and I get out, and Linda goes, I'm not going in there. I said, well, if we don't come out, do you mind calling 911? So anyway, long story short, we go in there. We're shocked as they're shocked to see us. I've got my white legs hanging out of my black shorts and my black t-shirt and my white hair on my head. And it was a shock to them to see us as it was to see them, because it was just a million beauty salons all over the place. So, or they're, whatever you call these, they're, whatever those are, they're places where they, what's that called? Okay, well, you know what it's called. It looks like that all over the shop. So I said, hey, I didn't bring my camera. Do you mind if we come back and take pictures? And so they said yes. So I ran, got my camera, came back, and got this particular shot. I just think this is so natural and so interesting. Okay, we've already talked about flowers for all the red. Same story, different pose on the little girl. When I I took single pictures of this bouquet for them to use in their advertising. When I brought those in, they loved them, of course. And I said, I'm going back to Old Red tomorrow. They go, oh, pick out anything. They didn't care. It was wonderful. Okay, engagement kiss. I'm in New York City. I've got snow on the ground, on those black trees. I have nobody to photograph. I'm there by myself with my tripod and my camera on my tripod. I'm going, geez, I got to photograph somebody. So this couple was over to my right, and I looked at them and I go, you there, come over here and give her the engagement kiss. Now, of course, the girls always love that. They did. They trotted on over. Now, he didn't give this kiss. He gave her a kiss on her lips, kind of, and I go, oh, no. This is the engagement. You got to dip her. So it was fun for them, fun for me, and I took these pictures, and they're from Australia. I sent them pictures to them. So I'm not afraid to just talk to anybody. Now, I'm very aware of who I'm talking to. If I think that they're okay to talk to, blah, blah, blah. I don't just talk to everybody, but pretty much everybody. Gordon Parks. Okay. I go to every meeting I can at the DMA. I go to listen to all kinds of, I still go to my Dallas meeting after 46 years, and I was in Houston going to those meetings back in the day. So, I can always learn something. Of course, I don't know that much about digital, so it's a good thing I've been going. I do know something. I don't want it to sound like I don't know anything, but it's not my forte. But anyway, so I heard he was, I went to the DMA and I saw a lecture, and at that lecture, there were these kids getting awards. I mean, they're getting awards for their photography, and it was a class that was taught. At the end, Gordon Parks was speaking or whatever. Not that one. No, Gordon Parks wasn't speaking. Somebody else was speaking from New York, like a Washington photographer. So I said, okay. I took the pictures and I gave them to the people that were running this Gordon Parks class. So they said to me, wow, this is so nice of you, because there were photographers there. None of them were taking pictures of the kids. And I said, yeah, you can have them. I just took them because I knew the kids would want them. And so they say to me, she says to me, well, when Gordon Parks comes next year, we're going to give you an invitation. Well, I knew when Gordon Parks was coming. I didn't get no invitation. I was disappointed. But I went out and did a shoot on a Friday night, come back, and my assistant had written down Gordon Parks 7:30. Well, I didn't know she meant tonight, Friday. I thought she meant Saturday. So I go home, and the next day I called my friend. I said, Gordon Parks is going to talk DMA Saturday night. He goes, Gail, you missed it. I said, what? He says, you missed it. I said, how could I miss it? Long story short, he said he's going to be down with the NAACP at the Anatole Hotel Saturday night. That's where he was going to be. So I called up the Anatole. I said, what room is Gordon Parks going to be in? Well, they gave me the room, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I go there. And so I go there and I go, I see my friends and they go, they're right at the door. And I'm going to go into this area where he's going to be. And they go, it's $50. And before that, they said, we're glad you're here. Well, I didn't know them hardly at all. They go, we're glad you're here. I don't think they were glad I was there, but it doesn't matter. We become fast friends ever since. But I said, here's my $50, Went in, was able to photograph him, get pictures with him, get him signed posters and so on. So you just ask. Gallows Road. Okay, I'm going to go a little quicker now. Gallows Road was a movie, and I knew some people that were in the cast. And I said, ask the director if I can come shoot the pictures, and I'll give them to him. I just wanted to know what it's like to photograph on a set. So they said, yes, here I go on there, blah, blah, blah. Kevin Sorbo. And there is Brad. Brad, are you on? We can't answer. Anyway, so Brad was always happy that I was his understudy, that he was over me and telling me what to do and when to do it. And of course, here it is. It was also Ernie Hudson was there in the movie. And this is the cast party afterward. It was just great fun. People were nice. It was great fun. And I learned quiet on the set means quiet on the set. LeBron. Okay, so LeBron, I'm at a basketball game. And, well, that day I had a client from California come in with his family. And they used to live in Dallas. And I photographed them. And they said, well, we're going to be at the basketball game tonight. We've got seats under the hoop. I said, how nice is that? I've got seats up in the way in the back. I've got seats. And so they go to the restroom, and at halftime, I walk down to where his seat alley is, to go down, and the person there says, you can't go in. I said, oh, you don't understand. My clients are sitting down there on the front row, and they want me to take pictures. I'm not going to take pictures of the game or anything. I'm just going to go take their pictures, and I'll come back up. She said, okay, go. I go down. I sit on the seat because the mother and the two girls had already gone to the restroom. I'm talking to the father. Next thing I know, the game's about to start. I'm still sitting on that seat with my I don't know if I had two cameras, but I had cameras. And all the photographers that were assigned to sit down there sat around me. So I slid off the seat and sat on the ground, and I was able to photograph him in the hoop. My daughter's up in the bleachers way back there, and she's shaking a fist at me. I just left her up there. What can you do? Marching with the Freedom Riders in Selma. Okay, back in 2011, I'm always doing things I can't do. That is how you get to do them. This is Picasso. And that's why I went to Selma. There's no really reason. I didn't ask anybody. I just went because I wanted to know what it was like. I didn't realize they go to church that morning, whereas I couldn't go to church because I didn't have a ticket. Well, somebody gave me a ticket, so I got in for that, and that was nice. And I saw everybody, and he was there. John Lewis was there. Got to meet him and photograph him, and I learned a lot. Same thing with Julia Child. I walk into a hole-in-the-wall hamburger joint, and I see her sitting there. And I ordered my hamburger, and I went outside, and I got my Grinches, and I bought 90 Grinches at one time because it was before the movie came out, because they were on sale for next to nothing after Christmas. Anyway, I say to her, would you hold these Grinches and let me take a picture? She said, yes. So I take one picture. Well, I didn't realize all the cameramen that were around, I didn't see the cameras. They were on the floor because they were eating. They all said, that's it. I said, jump back, Jack. She told me I could. So I got one picture. That was it. This is Dick Cheney. Someone was photographing him. And she said, will you help me, Gail? And I said, yeah, I'll help you. What do you want me to do? And she goes, I don't know. I said, well, I'll take pictures of you taking pictures of him. Well, again, I threw my camera in, and I threw my Grinches in. And I don't know much about what he was about back in the day. And I said, okay, I talked about his football, baseball, and all that or football he played. So that's why and he has 3 grandchildren. That's why those big Grinches are 3 grandchildren. Long story short, talk. She jams the camera 3 times. We had to change out that camera 3 times. Finally, I just said, she's not taking pictures of you, so I will. So I took my 35 millimeter out and shot a few pictures, and then I took the Grinches out, and I said, do you mind holding these Grinches? These are your 3 grandchildren. I just shoved them at him. He took them. And then I said, I don't suppose you'll wear the Kris Kringle hat. I never asked, I don't suppose. Well, he said, no, he's not going to. But anyway, he's laughing and I'm laughing. And anyway, it was interesting. The people came in to get him. Now we're in a room where you can't get in and out of that room without pressing a button. This lady at the front desk had to press the button. So he comes back. Somebody comes in and says, I need to talk to you in this room. And he goes, no, I'm being photographed, which was by me. I said, oh no, you go out there. So we got out there and fixed the cameras, and she got her pictures, but she was nervous. That's why. I think it's not seen because it's visible, but conversely visible because it's seen. United Daughters of the Confederacy. They're wearing the black outfits here. I went into Louisiana to photograph in the cemetery with whoever they could put up or could grab and get somebody in costume for us to photograph and hopefully sell the photographs so they could make money. It was either Ike, it might have been Ike, and the damage that was done was incredible. So we go there. Now this woman in the middle is a camera woman, and she looked like Gothic. I don't know, but she was thin and so on. I said, hey ladies, put that hat on this one and blah blah blah, and that's how I got that picture. So you see, it's not visible. It wasn't visible to be seen. I made it visible. Carly Simon and the Quakers. Okay, we're just about done here. Carly Simon. I said, hey, she had a shop in the island there.
Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard, thank you. And I said, hey, I saw her. I want to go to her shop. So I went to the shop. She's there. I go out to get the car and get my camera, come back. And I said, do you mind if I take a picture of you? She goes, do you mind if I say no? So when they say no, no means no. I'm real clear about that. I also had wrote a letter to the Quakers. A group of us wanted to photograph the Quakers. So we write the letter and they write back to us and they say, no, we don't have a feeling for the project. So you get turned down sometimes, yes. Okay, we've got a 5-minute thing. I think I'm almost on time except for questions, but here's Dorothea Lange, photography taking this instant out of time, altering life by holding still. And this is my... Okay, that's it. Right on time.
Feel free to unmute yourselves and ask questions. We have one person, Bruce is asking how you handle model releases.
Okay, good question. There are no model releases. I don't do anything with those. You're talking about the Amish?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I do not. I don't sell the pictures. I don't put them in competition. I don't make books. I take them to give them to them. I love these people. Jay Stock started photographing these people, same families roughly, and there are 8 families about 25 years ago. And he never took me in. He said he would one day. Well, the last day that he could possibly go, he took me in and he turned it over to me. So I had to, I stayed there for 2 or 3 days, and then the next year I went, and I've gone every year ever since. But my whole point of doing this, first of all, it's a privilege, it's a love, it feeds my soul. There's nothing, children are my first forte in love. The people, they're just salt of the earth and hardworking. I've always said I want to live up there for a year. I haven't quite done that yet. I haven't asked yet. But anyway, so that's how I handle that. I don't use this in anything that's going to be saleable or given or printed or so on. It's for them and for me to capture what life was like, because it's changing. I mean, one young man said to me, don't tell my mom, but I've driven a car. Another one had this past year, 19, they had a cell phone. And they're not supposed to have those cell phones. They're not supposed to be photographed either, but they want the pictures. They want the pictures. And I want to take them. So there's a lot of trust there. Anyway.
A lot of great comments about how you're inspiring people, and people are loving the images and the stories behind them. So any more questions?
I have a question for you guys. Go do what pulls your soul. Go do some big project that you've been wanting to, and don't forget to, all you have to do is just ask. And there's so much you can do, so much more. I think sometimes, again, that we're afraid to ask sometimes. It doesn't matter what, for me at my age, I just ask anyway now. But I'm talking even when I started out, it was difficult for me at Giddings to have a conversation or think about it, what was I going to talk about and worry about that and so on and so forth. But, all that takes practice and time, and, you just got to go do it. Don't be afraid. Okay.
If you don't ask,
thank you, everybody.
Always no, right?
What's that?
If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
That's right.
Thank you, Gail. That was really wonderful. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for tuning in.
We had a great crowd. So thank you very much.
Bye, Nancy.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye,
Gail,
everybody.
thank you.
You're welcome.
How about those chocolates?
Hi, Gail.
I told you, come on down. You'll get all the
Yeah, but you
chocolate.
also said if you ask and you don't get a no, to ask again. So I'm asking.
Okay, no. No.
No.
I didn't say no. I said, come on down.
Yeah, I'll be down. Then you'll be sorry.
Okay, come on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Gail, I can edit out that last bit with the Amish if you want, and just put in a little slide that says this part is not for reviewing, and then everybody can see everything else.
Oh, that'd be great. That's what I said. Yeah, I'm so glad, I told you to go ahead and do it anyway. Let me think about it, and I'm trying to think how I can do it and have it so you can, but I'm torn because I have their respect. I don't want to lose trust of them and their respect. And it wouldn't matter if it's just ASP members. Well, that gets that one and shows it to this one, or who knows?
Exactly.
That's what I'm afraid of, because I do not want to lose this. It's killing me that I'm not able to go up there this year. I still don't. Maybe there'll be a way. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's a good solution, and we're making sure that nothing happens.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you. This was a great program.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.